Hi, second grade. I'm so excited to keep going with this learning today. Yesterday we were looking at our two-digit numbers and we were breaking them up into different parts. And we were thinking about not just looking at it as this is the number of tens, this is the number of ones, but seeing that there's more than one way to represent one number, okay? And so we're going to do some more of that today as we dive in with our three-digit numbers. So we're going to go ahead and get our target knocked out, and then we're going to take a peek at this model and see if we can figure out what number it represents and come up with some different ways to show that number. I can write three-digit numbers in different ways using place value. Yesterday I talked to you about that word place value, and what that means, remember, is that each place that a number is in, each digit each digit that it represents, whether it's the tens digit or the hundreds digit or the ones digit, each place that it's in a number has a different value. So when we have our tens and our tens are in the tens place and they represent 10. That means they're worth 10. When we have our ones, they're worth what? Just one, right? And then when we have those hundreds, they're worth what? How do we skip count those? By hundreds. Crazy, right? So we know that each place that a number's in has a different value, and we want to use that value to help us figure out that there are other ways to make this one number. So let's take a peek first at this. And I want you just to think to yourself, what do you notice about this number? What do you notice? It's a big number. There are no boxes of 100 drawn. There's groups of 10. How are those groups of 10 grouped? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 tens in that one, isn't there? There's 10 tens in that one too. And what do we know about a group of 10 tens? Yes, we know that from that first day of learning, don't we? Each group of 10 tens is worth 100. That's 100, that's 100, that's 100. But they are still in their tens, aren't they? Okay, and then what else do you notice? There's 4 tens there and 5 ones. So what number do we have here? How did you get 345? Where did 345 come from? The 300's there, okay. The 4 tens and the 5 ones, but there's not 300s. No, there are how many hundreds? 0. How many tens are there? 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33. There's 34 tens. Total. Yes, 34 tens. 5 ones. How much are those 34 tens worth? 100, 200, 300, 310, 320, 330, 340. So then we have our 340, if we're going to do expanded form, plus 5 equals what? 345. So we know this number makes 345. We can see 340 in our tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160. We could go on and on, couldn't we? We know those are 300s, 40, and then we have our 5. Are there other ways to make 345? Let's see. See if we can come up with at least 3 other ways to make 345. If you're at home, go ahead and pause us. If you're here, get busy, and we're going to show our learning in just a second. How many hundreds did you draw? How many tens did that leave you then? And how many ones? How many hundreds did you draw? How many tens? If you have 100, how many tens do you have? If you have 300, how many tens do you have? Ooh, we're wrapping up and coming this way in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and done. I'm gonna kind of draw them as I see them around. We have our 100. Takes up a lot of space, doesn't it? How many hundreds do you have? 100. How many tens did you have? 10, 20, and there's that 4, 24 tens. How many ones? 5. So if we write that in expanded form, how much would we have? 100, right? There's that 100 right there. How much do you have in your tens? 240. How do you know you have 240? There's 100, there's 100, and there's your 40. Okay. Oh, I heard somebody else say, well, that's, if they had 340 up here, taking one of those away would be 240. You're right. We can use what we already see to help us add or to help us figure out what we're looking at. And then how many ones? And that makes 340, right? We have our 100 and our 200, our 40, and our, oh, not 340, 345. Absolutely. It was another way that we had that we drew it. Two hundreds. Whew. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Okay. And then 4 more. And then your 5 ones. Okay, and so how many hundreds did you have? 2 this time. 10, 11, 12, 13. Only 14 ones. And how many ones? Or how, sorry, not 14 ones, 14 tens. And how many ones? How much is your 200? How much are your 200s worth? 200, 100, 200. How many are your tens worth? 140 this time, right? 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. And then we have our 5. And what's our total? 345. Okay. Last one that we had drawn. And then, why didn't you have to draw very many tens on that one? You had as many hundreds as you could, didn't you? Only 4 there. 5. And then how much are you, what if you were going to write it in expanded form? Stretching that out. How much are your hundreds worth? 100, 200, 300. How about your tens? 40. How about your ones? 5. And that equals what? 345. Awesome work. So when we take a peek at that, do you notice any patterns here that might help you figure this out? What patterns do you notice? As your hundreds went up, what else happened? Your tens went down. So you had 24, then you had 14, and then you only had 4. Your ones stayed the same, didn't they? On this one they did, didn't they? Absolutely. So when we take a peek at this, sometimes those patterns help us. They help us think about that. Why do you think your tens place went down? Because that's this, yep, that's 10 tens, right? That's two groups of 10 tens. That's one group of 10 tens. That's 0 groups of 110, or 0 groups of 10 tens. You're right. And then they go away, right? So this is those 2, and those sets are 4. One group of 10 tens, and then 4. Absolutely. So when we take a peek at that, that's one way that we could start thinking about it. And we're thinking about that place value. What are those worth? Our 100, our tens, and our ones. So now I'm going to send you guys off here in just a second, and we're going to be doing one on our own. It's number 256. Now we're going to do one of those together before we head off to our seats. So we want to think about, how can we draw a model to show 256? How many hundreds, tens, and ones is that? And what does it look like in expanded form, stretched out? So we're going to go ahead and do this one on the carpet with us. We'll share it, and then you can go off and add to it, okay? Go ahead. What are some ways that we could do 256? How many hundreds is in 256? All right, let's go ahead and we will fill that out. So tell me about your model that you drew. And why did you draw 2 hundreds? Because in 200, there's 2 hundreds, okay? And then what did you do? Why 5 tens? There's a 5 in the tens place, okay? And what does that represent? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Very good. So this 5 tens is worth 50. This 200s is worth 200, okay? And then what about your ones? You have your 6 ones. And how much are those 6 worth? Just 6. And there we go in our expanded form. 256. That's that place value, right? Here's the place. Its value is this. 2 place in the 200 in the hundreds is worth 200. The 5 in the tens place is worth what, everybody? 50. And what about the 6 in the ones place? Just 6. So your challenge is to see if you can come up with at least 2 other ways to show 256. And this is your exit ticket for today. What are 2 other ways that you can make that number 256?